I've been doing this a long time, Meg. Literally the next thing out of my mouth. The theme is climate change. Dance like it's the end of the world. We're going
How do we even decorate for that?
We're gonna
Hello,
pump the heat up.
and welcome to this discussion on the topic of global warming. This is a topic that has been debated for decades, with some people arguing that it is a real and serious problem, and others arguing that it is a hoax or a natural occurrence. In this script, we will be taking a closer look at the evidence for and against global warming, and examining whether it is a real and pressing concern. Part 1. What is global warming? Before we dive into the debate, it is important to define what we mean by global warming. Simply put, global warming refers to the increase in average global temperatures that has been observed over the past century. This increase is largely attributed to the increase in greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, which trap heat and cause the Earth's surface to warm up. These greenhouse gases come from a variety of sources, including the burning of fossil fuels, deforestation, and the use of certain industrial chemicals. Part 2. The evidence for global warming. Now, let's take a look at the evidence for global warming. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence is the increase in global temperatures that has been observed over the past century. According to data from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, the average global temperature has increased by about 1.4 degrees Fahrenheit since the late 19th century. This may not seem like a significant increase, but it has already had a noticeable impact on the Earth's climate. In addition to the increase in temperature, there are a number of other indicators that suggest global warming is occurring. For example, sea levels have been rising steadily over the past century, and are now about 8 inches higher than they were in the early 20th century. This rise in sea levels is due in part to the melting of polar ice caps, which is itself a result of rising temperatures. There are also a number of other impacts that are being attributed to global warming. For example, droughts and heat waves are becoming more frequent and more intense, and extreme weather events such as hurricanes and floods are becoming more common. These impacts are not just happening in one place, they are being observed all around the world. Part 3. The arguments against global warming. Now, let's take a look at the arguments against global warming. One of the main arguments is that the increase in global temperatures is simply a natural occurrence, and not caused by human activity. There is evidence that the Earth has gone through periods of warming and cooling in the past, and some people argue that we are simply experiencing one of these natural cycles. Another argument against global warming is that the evidence for it is not strong enough. Some people point to the fact that there have been periods of cooling in the past century, as well as instances of extreme cold weather, as evidence that global warming is not occurring. They argue that the increase in temperature is not statistically significant, and that there are other factors at play that could be causing the observed changes in the climate. Part 4. The consequences of global warming. Whether or not global warming is real, it is clear that the consequences of it could be significant. If temperatures continue to rise, it could lead to more extreme weather events, such as more frequent and intense heat waves and droughts. It could also lead to more frequent and severe natural disasters, such as hurricanes and floods. In addition to these immediate impacts, there are also longer-term consequences to consider. For example, the melting of polar ice caps could lead to a rise in sea levels, which could have serious consequences for coastal communities. It could also have an impact on agriculture, as changes in temperature and weather patterns could. Global warming is a phenomenon that has been plaguing our planet for decades. It is caused by the increasing levels of greenhouse gases in our atmosphere, which trap heat from the sun and cause the Earth's temperature to rise. As the temperature increases, the impacts on our planet become more severe. If global warming continues to get worse, the consequences could be devastating. One of the biggest impacts of global warming is on our weather patterns. As the temperature increases, we can expect to see more extreme weather events such as heat waves, hurricanes, and wildfires. These events can cause widespread damage to infrastructure, homes, and lives. In addition to the physical damage, global warming can also have economic impacts. The cost of repairing and rebuilding after extreme weather events can be expensive, and many people may lose their homes or businesses. This can lead to increased poverty and inequality, as well as a strain on government resources. Global warming also has significant impacts on our natural world. As the temperature rises, it can lead to the loss of biodiversity as some species are unable to adapt to the changing conditions. This can have a domino effect on the entire ecosystem, as the loss of one species can affect the survival of many others. Furthermore, global warming can lead to the melting of polar ice caps, which can cause sea levels to rise. This can lead to the displacement of millions of people, as well as the loss of valuable coastlines and ecosystems. Another impact of global warming is on our food supply. As the temperature increases, it can lead to changes in the growing seasons and the availability of certain crops. This can result in food shortages and price increases, which can have serious consequences for those who are already struggling to afford basic necessities. But it's not too late to take action. There are steps that we can take to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions and slow the process of global warming. This includes reducing our reliance on fossil fuels, investing in renewable energy sources, and conserving natural resources. By working together and making conscious choices, we can make a difference and protect our planet for future generations. Let's take action now to prevent global warming from getting any worse. The Earth is getting warmer, and it's largely due to human activity. We've been releasing greenhouse gases into the atmosphere for decades, and now the planet is paying the price. Global warming is causing sea levels to rise, weather patterns to become more extreme, and ecosystems to be disrupted. It's a problem that affects us all, and it's one that we need to address if we want to protect our planet and our future. So what can we do to prevent global warming? Here are a few ideas. Reduce our carbon emissions. Carbon dioxide is the main greenhouse gas that's contributing to global warming. We can reduce our emissions by using less energy, driving less, and using more energy-efficient appliances and vehicles. We can also switch to renewable energy sources like solar or wind power. Plant trees. Trees absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere as they grow. By planting trees, we can help offset some of the carbon emissions that we generate. Use public transportation. Transportation is a major source of carbon emissions. By using buses, trains, and other forms of public transportation, we can reduce our carbon footprint and do our part to prevent global warming. Eat a plant-based diet. Livestock farming is a significant source of greenhouse gases, particularly methane. By eating more plant-based foods, we can reduce our impact on the environment. Support clean energy initiatives. Governments, businesses, and organizations around the world are working on clean energy solutions to help reduce our reliance on fossil fuels. By supporting these initiatives, we can help accelerate the transition to a cleaner, more sustainable future.